In this video, we're going to be changing the background color on another product image. It's the same basic technique as what we did in the last video, but since we're working with an image that has perspective in it, there's a few things that are a little bit different. We're going to be working with another chocolate bar. This one's from Socio Design, and again, the design is really, really lovely. I love what they've done, but the image could maybe use a little bit of color. So we're going to do the same technique. I've already created a path for the chocolate bar, and so we'll create two copies of the background layer by hitting Command J twice. We'll turn off the background layer. It's always nice to kind of save the background in its pure form. And on this top one, we will make a selection of the chocolate in the Paths tab. We'll feather it just a little bit, and then we'll make a layer mask. So that'll give us our cutout shape. And then on this one, what we'll do is we'll use the polygonal lasso tool, and again, just make a rough selection around the shadow. Sometimes on these long shadows, you got to go a little bit further than you would think, and create a layer mask of that. So now we have this layer, we have this layer. For this one, we want to make everything pure white except for the shadow itself. So we'll make a levels adjustment layer by clicking on that button there. Again, making a clipping mask between these two. So if you right click and oops, there we go. Create clipping mask. That's going to clip it just to the layer underneath. And then we can just go ahead and slide the white point up. And you can see on the histogram, this big bulk here is going to be the background. So it'll usually kind of show you how far you have to go. So then we'll set this layer to multiply. This top layer is set to normal. I'll turn that layer back on. And now we have this nice unit that we can move around. So same technique as last time. We'll group this up and rename it as chocolate. There we go. So that's basically what we have to do. So now if I make a solid color adjustment layer, go to solid color, and once again I can select something that's relevant to the brand. So I'll select this yellow color here. You can see that the shadow comes on top. So this technique is exactly the same as when it's in top-down view, but there's a few cool things that we can do when it's in perspective. So what I'm going to do is make another solid color adjustment layer, and this one I'm going to use the red. So I'll zoom in here, I'll get a sample of the red. So now I have two colors on top of each other. And for this one, I'm going to use a vector mask and actually mask it into perspective, which is going to just make it really dynamic. So I'm going to select this layer here, and in the top menu, I'm going to go to Layer and go to Vector Mask, Reveal All, which is going to put a vector mask on this. So now if I use the pen tool, and I'll just go rough at first, you can see when I make a shape, it'll actually mask out the red according to that vector shape. And that's what's so nice about these vector masks as opposed to layer masks for something like this, is you can just go back and get exactly what you want and have it be this editable mask. So I'm using the direct select tool here. Works just like the direct select tool in other programs where you can grab individual anchor points. And I'm just going to put this in perspective. I've zoomed way out just to give me a lot of space to work. And this one we kind of have to guess, like, where is this thing going to go? Probably something like that. And so there we go. When we zoom back in, you can see now the background is in perspective, which looks really cool. Then the last thing I want to show you is, again, using some kind of marble texture. Last time when we did this, we selected a texture that was purposefully chopped from top down so that it would match with our shot. But in this case, we are shooting from a 3/4 angle, so we actually have to skew the marble so that it is also in that perspective. So I'll put it in the image. I just dragged it in. And the first thing I'll do is actually just make it a bit bigger so it really covers everything up. And then we'll go up to Edit, Transform, Distort. And what Distort allows us to do is just roughly skew things however we want. And if we were working with something really, really precise, like if it was a texture that was like a perfect grid or something, we'd have to do something a little bit more exact. But in this case, since marble texture has so much organic variation to it anyways, we can get away with just using the distort tool. So what I'm going to do here is just drag this into perspective. And you can see that it's sort of like looking like it's sitting on a table when I drag those points in. And so what it's really going to do is it's just going to compress the texture up here and keep it nice and normal out here. So it's just going to feel a little bit more correct. So go ahead and do that. And then I'll just blow this up so it's the right size. There we go. Okay. There we go. And if I go back into the history panel here and go before the transform, you can see the difference. Like this is before and this is after. And to me, it just looks a little bit more correct. Before the transform, it kind of looks like the marble is flat against the wall. But when I transform it, it looks like it's going with the chocolate bar, just a little bit more. So you can kind of get away with it on some pattern like this that's so loose. People probably wouldn't notice, but it's just a little bit better form to go ahead and transform it. And if you're working with something that's way more regular of a pattern, then you're definitely going to need to do this for it to work. So you can see that that puts it into perspective. So two different options, one with the marble, one with the solid color layer, and that's how you do it when it's in a perspective product image. So hope that's helpful, and I'll see you in the next video.